Usually when we think about our own personalities, we picture ourselves as like the architect of a custom house.
Right.
We pick the paint colors, we arrange the furniture, we figure out where the walls go. There's this deeply comforting expectation that we are fundamentally in charge of our own design.
Yeah, it's a very proactive, deliberate way of viewing human existence. I mean, we cling to the belief that the blueprint is firmly in our hands,
Exactly.
mostly because it makes us feel secure in what is honestly a pretty unpredictable universe.
We want a clean narrative. We want to look in the mirror and say, I built this. I chose to be this kind of person.
And if you assume you built it, you also assume you can change it whenever you want. You feel like the master of your own domain.
But then you encounter a philosophical framework that steps into the room, looks at your carefully constructed house, and tells you that actually you didn't build it.
Yeah.
You didn't even pick the paint. Practically everything you think makes you, well, you, is just an acquired habit forced upon you by your environment.
Oh, yeah. It completely shatters that feeling of control.
It really does.
It dismantles the illusion entirely. It asks you to look at the very foundation of your existence and realize you might just be reacting to a system much larger and honestly much more rigid than you ever realized.
And that is exactly what we are doing with you today on this deep dive. We are exploring a really fascinating philosophical text by Su Feng, and it's titled 36 8-Trigram Arrays, the Array of Nature.
Translated and edited by Kinyu. Yeah.
Right. And to be clear, we are just impartially reporting on this source material today, not endorsing it.
Yeah.
But our mission for this deep dive is to map out this complex framework, understand the hidden layers of our existence, and uncover a highly unexpected path to achieving ultimate spiritual harmony.
And the framework presented here doesn't just offer abstract, cloudy ideas.
No, not at all.
It presents a very rigid mechanical structure for how the universe operates, and then it pins you right in the middle of it like a moth on a corkboard.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
The text gives us this incredible foundational quote right at the beginning. It says, humans live in nature, just as fish live in water.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds simple at first, almost like a poetic greeting card.
Right.
But there's a massive philosophical weight behind that comparison.
The weight really comes from how the author defines nature. In this text, nature is explicitly equated with the Buddha, or the ultimate divine truth.
Okay.
The author writes, nature is the Buddha. Living in nature is living in the Buddha. So to become enlightened, you must live fully in nature.
But we have to be careful not to misunderstand that word. Right?
Exactly. Nature here doesn't mean, hiking in the woods or planting trees.
Right. It's not about becoming a park ranger.
Far from it. The central premise of this entire philosophy is a mechanical rule, which is that structure determines nature.
Walk me through how that actually works. What does structure determines nature mean for the average person listening?
Well, think of it as a cosmic law of physics. Whatever physical or conceptual structure something possesses, a corresponding set of characteristics automatically follows.
So they're inherently linked.
Yes. If you have the physical structure of a mountain, you possess mountain-like qualities. Stillness, mass, elevation.
Right.
If you have the structure of a cup, your nature is to hold volume. You cannot have a specific structure and somehow avoid the nature that comes with it.
So because I have the biological and cognitive structure of a human, I am locked into human nature. I can't just, decide to have the nature of a bird.
Exactly. You are bound by your blueprint. And this mechanism where structure dictates characteristics creates what the text calls the nature array.
The nature array.
Yeah. It's a splendid, highly orderly matrix. Everything in existence is exactly what it is and behaves exactly how it behaves because of how it is built. You, me, the oceans, the stars, we are all just components existing within this massive, inescapable array.
If everything around us is locked inside this massive matrix, how is it actually organized? Because the text spends a lot of time breaking this down into a core taxonomy of 3 types of nature.
Yes. Innate nature, bestowed nature, and acquired nature.
Right.
Understanding these 3 layers is really the master key to unlocking the entire text. Every single thing in the universe can be dissected into these 3 parts.
As I was reading the source material, I kept trying to visualize this taxonomy, and I ended up thinking about it like building a smartphone.
Oh, I like that.
Let's see if this analogy holds up. So the first layer is the innate nature. The text says, this is given by the creator. It is the essential attribute shared by all.
Right.
So in the smartphone analogy, innate nature is electricity. It's the raw, formless power that makes all electronics function. You absolutely cannot have a phone without it.
Yep.
And it's the exact same energy, whether it's in a toaster or a supercomputer.
That perfectly captures the universality of it. Innate nature is the undeniable bedrock commonality of existence.
Then we move to the second layer, which is bestowed nature. The text describes this as characteristics given to various types of things to differentiate them into categories.
Right.
Back to the phone, bestowed nature would be the operating system. It's what makes your device an iOS or an Android. It takes that raw electricity and channels it into a specific family or type.
It introduces differentiation. It's no longer just raw, formless power. The energy now has a defined set of parameters and boundaries.
And finally, the third layer is the acquired nature. The text defines this as the habits formed by individual things through the influence of their environment and their survival needs. So this is the specific arrangement of apps you download onto your phone based on your daily routine, your specific calendar, your games, your messy home screen layout.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
It belongs solely to you, the individual, because of the environment you interact with.
And if we apply that operating system analogy back to the natural world, look at how the text beautifully categorizes water. According to this framework, the innate nature of water is just that common essence. The sheer formless waterness shared by all moisture globally.
The electricity.
Right. Then the bestowed nature categorizes it. This is where we get seawater, river water, spring water, rainwater. The formless essence has been placed into broad families.
Okay, that tracks.
But the acquired nature is where the text gets deeply personal and profound. Acquired nature comes from specific use and environmental habit. This is where we get salt water, tea water, medicinal water, and even tears.
I have to pause there because that specific example completely blew my mind. Tears.
I know.
The idea that a single teardrop is an acquired habit of water. It's this universal element that has been adapted by human emotion and biological survival, needs to serve a hyper-specific individual function.
It really reframes things, doesn't it?
It completely reframes how I look at something so common.
It forces you to realize that nothing exists in a vacuum. Everything is constantly being shaped by its surroundings. The text does the same thing with flowers, actually.
Right.
The innate nature is the commonality of all flowers. The bestowed nature is the family, like the daisy family or the lily family. And the acquired nature is the individual variety that adapted to its specific patch of dirt and sunlight, like the black daisy or the pink mini daisy.
And this is where the text turns the mirror directly onto us. It applies this exact same three-layer structure to human beings.
It does.
Innate nature is our shared, formless humanity. Bestowed nature is categorized by broad physical traits, like the text mentioning races, yellow, white, and black.
Right.
And then acquired nature is our unique individual personalities. Every quirk, every preference, every reaction you have is just an acquired adaptation to your environment.
But what's fascinating here is that we have to dig into the philosophical weight the text assigns to these layers, because it's not just a biological filing system.
There's more to it.
It assigns very specific metaphysical states to them. To fully grasp this, we need to translate some concepts. The text aligns the innate nature with the nature of Tao.
Okay, the Tao.
For a listener unfamiliar with that, think of the Tao as the ultimate unmanifested truth, a state of pure emptiness and elegance without any physical form. It is the raw potential of the universe before anything is created.
Pure, undisturbed electricity.
Yes. Then, the bestowed nature, where differentiation begins, where the OS is installed, is aligned with the concept of Tai Chi.
All right.
Tai Chi is the moment that formless potential splits into distinct forces, into categories. The text calls this the nature of virtue. It is the natural, uncorrupted state of being a specific thing.
So we have the Tao and we have Tai Chi. What metaphysical state does our individual acquired nature get assigned?
The acquired nature is described as the nature of reason. It is a habitual state of adaptation. You develop reason and rationality to survive your specific environment.
Wait, I need to stop you there.
Okay.
Because when I was reading the list of things, the text includes under the nature of reason, this acquired nature, I actually gasped.
Oh, the moral virtues list.
Yes. It explicitly lists benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trust as results of acquired nature. That can't be right. Trust and benevolence are universally considered like core human virtues, the divine spark within us.
Yeah.
But this text is saying they are just survival habits.
That is where this framework is incredibly disruptive. It completely demotes those virtues.
It really does.
In most Western and even Eastern philosophies, achieving benevolence and righteousness is the ultimate goal. but Shui Feng's framework categorizes them merely as environmental adaptations. They are tools,
Tools, like a hammer or a screwdriver.
like a social hammer.
Oh, that's...
Why did early humans develop trust or propriety? Because if you don't trust the people in your tribe, or if you act without propriety, you get cast out and you starve.
Wow.
They are mechanisms developed to survive in a complex, dangerous social environment. They are the apps you downloaded to keep your society functioning. They are not the electricity. They are not the innate Tao.
If my morality, my very sense of what makes me a good person, is just a survival tactic, I feel completely alienated from myself. It makes me want to rip out the operating system entirely to see what's underneath.
Which is exactly what the text eventually asks you to do.
So what does this all mean? Does the text actually offer a way out of this trap? Because if our everyday personalities and our highest moral virtues are just masks hiding our true essence, how do we escape this nature array?
Well, that presents a massive logical hurdle within the text itself, because earlier, the framework established that structure determines nature.
Right. The text states point blank, humans cannot escape the nature array because humans themselves are nature and cannot transcend it.
Exactly.
Like trying to run away from your own shadow.
Yep.
How can you possibly escape something that you are biologically and conceptually made of?
The solution requires redefining what escaping actually means. It is not a physical departure. You aren't, growing wings and flying away to another dimension. To escape the nature array means you have to reverse engineer your own existence. You must move backward through the 3 layers.
Reverse engineering. Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that. Where do we start?
You start at the surface. First, you must overcome your acquired habits. That means discarding that nature of reason. You literally have to surpass the rationality of benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trust.
Surpassing trust and benevolence. I have to admit, that sounds terrifying.
It does.
It sounds like giving up your moral compass entirely. If you strip away benevolence, what keeps you from becoming a monster?
In the context of the text, you aren't becoming a monster. You are returning to a state of absolute neutrality. You are shedding the social survival tools because you no longer need to merely survive in a social hierarchy.
Okay.
Because once you strip away the acquired nature, you hit the bestowed nature. The text says you must then discard bestowed characteristics, which means abandoning the nature of virtue, that differentiated state of Tai Chi.
So I've deleted the apps,
Yep.
and now I'm wiping the operating system.
Yes. And only when you have shed both the acquired and the bestowed can you restore your innate nature. You achieve transcendence by returning to your purest, formless origin. You escape by dissolving back into the essence.
But practically speaking, how do we do that?
Yeah.
Knowing what we have to do is one thing, but how do we actually discard our bestowed characteristics?
Right, because we are physical beings.
Exactly. We have biological categories. Here's where it gets really interesting, because this leads us to the most surprising and arguably controversial part of the text, specifically regarding the division of human sexes.
The text categorizes the division of humans into male and female, into yin and yang, strictly as a bestowed nature. This division is born directly from the principles of Tai Chi, where that initial cosmic split happens. The text references the ancient idea that all things carry yin, yet embrace yang.
So, following the mechanical logic we just laid out, if sexual division is a bestowed nature, then to reverse engineer ourselves back to the formless Tao, we have to surpass yin and yang. We have to transcend sexual love entirely.
That is the logical conclusion. You must surpass the physical division of yin and yang to return to the singular innate nature. However, the method the text prescribes for achieving this transcendence is where the ultimate paradox lies.
I am so glad we're digging into this, because usually when you hear the phrase transcend sexual love, the immediate next step in almost every historical spiritual tradition is asceticism.
Oh, sure.
Monks retreating to caves, vows of celibacy, starving the physical body to elevate the spiritual mind. You detach completely from physical desires.
And that is precisely what Shui Feng's framework vehemently warns against.
Wait, really?
Yes. The text says, humans come from nature, return to nature, and the path to returning to innate nature is still nature. It states explicitly, and this is a direct quote, only through sex can one return to nature.
That is entirely counterintuitive. How can engaging in the very physical act of the bestowed nature lead you out of it? If the goal is to wipe the operating system, why are we actively engaging with it?
Because you cannot cheat the mechanical structure of the array. Remember, structure determines nature.
Right, the core rule.
If you inhabit a human structure, you possess human desires. You do not overcome a physical structure by starving it. If you starve a hunger, it doesn't disappear. It amplifies.
It consumes your thoughts.
Exactly. You aren't transcending it. You are just fighting a relentless internal war against it.
So asceticism just creates friction. It
Yeah.
keeps you trapped because you are constantly obsessing over the thing you are denying yourself.
Precisely. The text argues that the only way to genuinely overcome a bestowed nature is by fully balancing and saturating it. Think of it like a complex chemical equation.
Okay.
Yin and yang are two highly reactive elements. When they achieve complete balance and saturation through sexual love, they neutralize each other.
Oh, wow.
Only in that state of perfect neutralized balance can one return to the calm sea of nature, which is the innate nature.
Saturation leads to transcendence.
Hmm.
But let me push back on this because to a skeptical listener, this might just sound like a philosophical excuse for rampant hedonism. Isn't saturating your physical desires just a license to indulge in endless pleasure?
The distinction between saturation and hedonism is crucial here. Hedonism is driven by the nature of reason.
The acquired habit.
Right. It's an acquired habit of chasing dopamine, of always wanting more, of using others for personal gratification. It is a state of constant chaotic imbalance. The text is not advocating for indulgence. It is advocating for a mechanical, spiritual neutralization.
So it's not about the pursuit of pleasure. It's about fulfilling a structural requirement so completely that the requirement simply ceases to matter anymore.
Exactly. If either yin or yang is lacking, the system remains imbalanced, and that deficiency makes it mechanically impossible to return to the Tao. The equation hasn't zeroed out.
That makes sense in a strange way.
Therefore, the text delivers its most provocative directive: do not avoid sex. The more you avoid sex, the further you move away from innate nature, the nature of Tao, Buddhahood.
It completely flips the script on traditional spirituality. By repressing your bestowed nature, you are just trapping yourself in an imbalanced state. You are flailing against the current of the water instead of swimming with it. To get past the physical world, you have to go completely through it. You have to experience that yin and yang balance so fully that the division naturally falls away, leaving only the formless energy behind.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a profoundly cohesive philosophy, even if the conclusions are shocking to our modern sensibilities. The entire framework is begging us to stop fighting our nature.
Yeah.
Whether it is our physical desires, our biological structures, or our place in the universe, it asks us to deeply understand the mechanics of the nature array so we can navigate it correctly, rather than fighting a war we are structurally guaranteed to lose.
Like the fish in the water from the very first quote we discussed. A fish doesn't try to transcend its existence by jumping onto dry land and gasping for air. It masters the water.
You master the elements of the array. You understand your acquired habits. You balance the bestowed yin and yang so that you can finally glide effortlessly into that state of formless elegance, the innate Tao.
This is a lot to process. We started by looking at the illusion of the house we think we built, only to realize we are bound by the rigid laws of the nature array. We mapped out the innate essence, the bestowed categories, and the acquired habits.
We uncovered the unsettling reality that our individual personalities and highest moral virtues like trust and righteousness are merely acquired environmental adaptations, not our divine core.
And we unpacked the ultimate paradox, that the only way to transcend our physical constraints is not by starving them, but by achieving perfect neutralizing balance through the very nature we are trying to escape. Think about this the next time you drink a cup of tea or look at a pink mini daisy or even just look in the mirror. You are witnessing the innate, the bestowed, and the acquired playing out in real time.
The profound realization here is that once you understand this mechanical structure, you can never unsee it. You begin to recognize the nature array dictating every interaction, every habit, and every virtue you previously thought was entirely under your control.
Which brings me to a final lingering thought I want to leave you with, something to mull over on your own. We talked about how reaching our ultimate purest form requires us to reverse engineer ourselves and shed our acquired nature, which, according to this text, explicitly includes things like benevolence, righteousness, and trust.
The very social glue that keeps humanity from collapsing.
Right, so my question for you to explore is this. What would a society actually look like if everyone achieved this state of Buddhahood?
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
If every single person successfully wiped their operating system and shed their acquired moral habits to exist purely in the innate nature of the Tao, would a world without trust, without organized righteousness, actually be a utopia of perfect neutral harmony? Or would it be something completely unrecognizable, perhaps even terrifying, to the architects we think we are today? When you finally tear down all the walls of that house you thought you built, what is really left standing in the empty space?